Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Wreck-It Ralph. This is the 2012 movie. Didn't think it was that old. 2012 movie. It's an hour and 43 minutes long, and it stars John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman as the main two characters, Ralph and Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope von Schweetz. They are two very different video game characters from two very different games, and that's what this movie's kind of all about. It brings decades of different classic video game styles just crashing together. It's more than that. I mean, visually, yes, it's all different things smashing together, which is really cool for a video game person like me. Can you tell? What are these buttons and joysticks down here? I'm a little bit of a video game, especially classic video games. From the era in which Wreck-It Ralph would have existed. It doesn't. If you've ever seen a Fix-It Felix arcade game somewhere, I've played a few of them at Disneyland and different pinball arcade museums and Hall of Fames around the country. Uh, they were just made in the last 10 or so years, and they were made to look like one of the classic arcade games and coded the same way. Just all the fun stuff that comes with classic arcade gaming, and it's a beautiful, simple premise of the original game, and Ralph is the bad guy in that game. His job is to destroy an apartment building, and Fix It Felix, well, he's the hero, and he just fixes everything Ralph destroys. And Ralph feels a little unloved, unwanted, and the premise is he's basically feels rejected for decades, 30 years worth of doing his job, and he just doesn't want to be a bad guy anymore. He wants some of the praise, the fame, the adulation, the friendship, something. And well, he goes out and finds it. Except it doesn't go exactly as he planned. He and John C. Reilly is just, first of all, just so beautifully expressive. In He plays a great big dumb galoot. You've seen him in a bunch of movies, obviously, and TV shows where he plays essentially a very similar character in each. But in this one, he is a heart of gold. He is just he wants to do right. He goes to therapy. He goes to Badanon, I think that's what it's called. A basically a Alcoholics Anonymous version, well, a super villain, video game villain version of Alcoholics Anonymous. They just let out their feelings and share with other bad guys. And speaking of which, there's so many cameos from other iconic characters. Obviously, Pac-Man is throughout this. The ghosts and Clyde actually is a speaking part, the orange one, and it's Hubert makes an appearance. I mean, again, it doesn't mean anything to you if you don't know video games, but it's, to me, this is when I heard about this movie, it was a dream come true. And just, I love the talent that's in this. Not just John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman, but we got Jane Lynch playing this badass bug blasting commando. And from a very new modern game. We have Jack McBrayer playing Fix It Felix, and we have Alan Tudyk as King Candy, the ruler of the video game where Vanellope wants to be the best and the biggest racer of all time. But she's a little glitchy, and she is having a little problems even getting a chance to play on the track. And yeah, it's there's a big conspiracy, but yeah, I won't ruin anything for you. Honestly, it's movie's been around for almost 10 years, so if you haven't seen it, come on. I can only not spoil so much, but I gotta honestly, if it's something you feel like you've shied away from for whatever reason, don't. It's a to me it's a great, fun, absolutely brilliant movie. The the characterization's on point. The characters, just how they interact. I mean, Ralph being this grumpy old bad guy, uh, and this obnoxious little girl in Vanellope, just butting heads. And then you get Jane Lynch as why can't I say her name? Calhoun up against Jack McBrayer, who is Fix-It Felix, and they have a very different chemistry. And of course, Alan Tudyk. Anytime he jumps into a role, he his voice is unmistakable, and he's just a lot of fun. Mindy Kaling from the Mindy Project and from The Office, she shows up. She's one of the racers as Taffeta. Oh gosh, I didn't realize it's Joe Latrulio plays Markowski. I don't know who that is. I don't know which character it is. Oh, Ed O'Neill is Mr. Litwack, the guy who owns the arcade. One of the things that I love most about this is the massive ecosystem that they've created to connect all these games. It's not just about one game next to another game and they just hop from screen to screen. No, they don't do that. They travel through the cords into the power surge protector, and they interact in a sort of a grand central station of video game characters, and they can go for a drink over at Tapper if they feel like it, which is a common practice. Get some root beer. It's a kids movie, and they just have all sorts of great interactions. I mean, you get to see what happens when a game gets unplugged. You get to understand what happens when a game just gets old and no longer works. What happens to the characters? This is essentially the same kind of situation where, like, Toy Story brought toys to life, and this brings video game characters to life in a way that shows just how different and how things evolved over the decades since arcade gaming became a huge thing, and how it's sort of evolved into the modern day with higher definition graphics, and seeing them just 8-bit versus high def in the same scene is kind of neat. Uh, Plenty of humor, plenty of action, and honestly, I want to play. I've played Fix It Felix. I want to play Sugar Rush. I mean, that those maps. I've played enough Mario Kart in my life. If you love Mario Kart, you get a great feeling about Sugar Rush in this. One of the things I love about this movie, when it came out, it got me the opportunity to talk to the director, Richard Moore, and we talked about the love of video games and just Star Wars too. But it happened right around the time when Star Wars just got acquired by Disney, and we were both really excited about that. But yeah, we shared a love of video games and just movies, and talked about the characters and everything else. It was really fun. I don't know where I have where that video exists. It's at audio. It's an audio interview. Yeah. And I also talked to one of the great things about this is the fact that I also got to talk to one half of the team of Buckner and Garcia. And if you don't know who that is, well, it means you're under 40. Um, but it's this little album right here, Pac-Man Fever. Buckner and Garcia was a band behind creating that viral hit in the 1980s about singing odes to classic video games, and their hit was Pac-Man Fever, of course. And they put a song on this track, on this album, on the soundtrack, and it's all about Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph is what it's called, and it's kind of great. So yeah, there's also lots of other good music on this. There's a lot of the music kind of really gets in your head after a while. But yeah, I can't recommend this enough. It's so freaking fun. We saw the sequel, Ralph Breaks the Internet, a week or two ago, like in November, and man, that's it. Visually, graphics wise, it looks so much better. Not that this is any slouch at all. It looks great, but it's 2012 to 2018, 2017, 18. It's a big leap. It's a big. They're both worth checking out. Of course, you want to watch the first one before you watch the second one if you can. If you haven't watched these at all, but yeah, it gives you a better. You can watch them separately, but you get a better appreciation as to who who these people are and the supporting characters and everything else as to how they connect and why you root for them. And they're easy to root for. It's a good fun film for every generation. The little kids may not understand the whole history of video games, but if you're my age or around there, you've played your share of video games in an arcade, you'll know. You'll see a lot of familiar faces and sounds, and it'll take you back. I want to play some games now. So after watching this, but I can't. I have to pick tomorrow's episode. Here we go.
576.
You're loud, slow but loud. 576. That means that we're somewhere in the thes, I think. 576. You're taking a while to load. 576. Come on. Oh, man, we're just knocking out the movies this week. Okay. This name is very familiar. It is not a Mickey Mouse story, technically. It is the live action version. Well, yeah, it's somewhat of a live action version of the original animation that you might have seen in Fantasia. But the great thing about this is it stars Nicolas Cage. We're gonna watch The Sorcerer's Apprentice. All right, Sorcerer's Apprentice is up next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.